welcome back to Combat Mission Black Sea. We don't see this screen very often, do we? Or at all, come to think of it. This is the lead-in to another turn-by-turn video series. We did one last Christmas, and we did one the Christmas before that, so why not make it 3? And in line with that, most of the videos that I've been done this year, in fact all of the videos I've done this year, have been of the same kind of type. So it's all about showing you guys what happened and looking at the tactics involved, the weapons, the equipment, all that kind of stuff. And with that format, it's able to kind of, cut down like an hour-long mission to a 10-15 minute video. And that means that obviously a lot of stuff doesn't get shown. It's much more focused on what I'm trying to do than how I'm doing it mechanically with the game. So we're gonna do one of these, and I thought the obvious thing to do with this was to show you guys how I do the planning and the prep and the setup, because that doesn't usually get focused on that much. Usually what you'll see is oh, I looked at the map and I decided I need to bring XYZ because I want to do options 1, 2, 3, all that kind of stuff. But you never really go into how I get to that point where I want to do those things. So what we're going to do is show you that. So this is going to be probably quite a long, rambling video. I am ad-libbing, I'm just making this up as I'm going along, so you'll have to bear with. The game in question is going to be a small meeting engagement against JTimo from the Few Good Men, who's a pretty good player from what I can tell. I haven't fought against him before. He's probably going to kick my ass, not least because he's going to be playing as the Americans and I'm going to be playing as the Russians. So it is a kind of poking the eagle. I don't have a title yet. To kind of balance this out a little bit, we've got 3 things going for us. First of all, it is a short game. It is just 30 minutes. And that means we're both going to be provoked into really going for it. So it should be quite exciting. It should get pretty bloody, which is what we all want to see. And then on top of that, we have two little house rules that we've agreed to stick to. So the first one of those is wheels only. So we're not allowed to bring anything that has tracks. This is mostly cancels out a lot of the or means we can't bring a lot of the heavier, more one-sided equipment along. So there's no tanks, so no Abrams, no T90 AM, no T90, no T72B3. And none of the tracked infantry fighting vehicles like the Bradley and the BMP. That basically means it's strikers versus BTRs plus infantry, which should balance things out a bit better, because there is a very distinct food chain in Combat Mission Black Sea. It's not balanced out of the box particularly. And finally, the other rule is no off-map assets. Everything has to be on the map, and that means basically artillery support, I'm going to annoy the artillery people here, is limited to mortars. Anything that the Pixel Truppen can actually bring with them. The reason for this is that heavy artillery dominates the battlefield in a way that doesn't make it very interesting. Especially when both sides are trying to do that to each other. It becomes like a whack-a-mole, or like playing battleships. So we're not doing that. This is going to be mechanized infantry and mortars. That's about it. So it should be all good. It should be fun. The way that I usually approach these when I'm coming in is the first thing I need to do is have a look at the map and work out what the objectives are and how they work. So first thing we're going to do is go into quick battle. These are all the settings. I haven't changed them from when I set the game up. So it's small, 30 minutes, it's a meeting engagement, it's damp. You'll find out why in a minute. The weather's clear and it's day. The Americans have a massive advantage at night because they have those sexy new combination night vision thermal goggles, optics, monoculars, whatever. And their optics are generally better, so making it at day makes it a bit better, a bit more even. Then we got Russian Army, US Army, mixed forces, so you can bring whatever you like. Not that we're doing that, but you have the option. No electronic warfare for anybody. I thought about it, but in the end, nah. Without the off-map artillery, it's less important. And then of course preview allowed and all that stuff. That's what we're going in as. And now I need to find the damn map again. You joke, but these are actually it's such a pain trying to look these up. Boom, yeah, Town Forest 720 by 1184 039R. How could I have missed it? So we're going to jump in there. Doesn't matter what side we're going to be here. I'm just going to pick a forward observer for each side and jump in. And there we go. So you guys are going to see this over Christmas. Last time we did one in Final Blitzkrieg where you can put snow on. We did Stavilo and Hell in the Hedgerows. Not Hell in the Hedgerows, God. Stavilo, which was snowy, and Heavy Hitters, which I still don't like. Both winter games. So of course, despite the fact that it's August, we can mod this up with winter textures. So we have a nice lovely winterized combat mission Black Sea battle. So this is the map we're going to be playing on. Obviously we're going to be taking a closer look at this later, but the first thing I'm going to do here is go to menu and surrender. This isn't the actual game, this is just a quick battle against the eye we just set up. So obviously we lose, but this has given all the points available to the Americans. And we can dive in here, we can see there's 1,000 points on offer, and we can see how they split down. So there's the two objectives, the South Crossroads and the North Crossroads. They're both worth 200 points each, or 400 together. And then there's 600 points on offer for causing enemy casualties. That was the point of this, which is to find out find out how the points are allocated. So what do I need to concentrate on? And we can see this is North Crossroads, South Crossroads. So those are the two objectives, and then 600 points for killing the enemy. So let's take a closer look at the map and think about how we're going to do this. So securing the objectives is important because it's a solid big chunk of points. So it's not going to be too difficult for me to get to North Crossroads. I have this road. I can just drive straight up here and get in it. Plus I have here I have a tiny little reverse slope to deal with. This angle, I should be able to cover that off, cover that road off, and then here another little bit of reverse slope going on. And don't ask me why there's cabbages. I don't know. I'm actually going to have to look this up at some point, which is, you know, can cabbages grow in the winter? I don't think so, but who knows. Another little bit of reverse slope here, and of course we've got the village. So I should be aiming to try and secure this objective, and it should be relatively easy. I can just drive straight on in, unload the infantry, and set them up in these buildings, start spreading them out in like in a bit of an arc here across the village to try and get some a bit of defense in depth and stop the enemy from pushing either from his spawn, from his corner where he deploys, point 165.1 and the disused quarry this way, and if he pushes this way from the South Crossroads through the village. Up at this end, it might be... I mean, this slope is a little bit of an issue, potentially, because it's dead ground, so maybe J-Timo is going to be able to drive up here with some stuff and then assault into the village this way. But, again, I'm going to have a bit of a reverse slope position There's quite a lot of positions for him to cover if he comes in from this way. And then of course he's got to go down that more of a reverse slope there. Conversely, this kind of works the other way as well. So he's going to be able to come out of his deployment zone and just go also straight into the South Crossroads objective and basically do the same thing. So we've got a bit of... it's fairly even in that respect. I have slightly fewer options if I want to get in speed. So of course I got this main road I can drive in, but then the hillside on my side is screened off by some light forest. Or, well, it's not that light, some of it. That's not light forest, you muppet. But that represents an obstacle. It's going to slow me down if I try and get vehicles through there. If I dismount to walk in, it's going to also obviously slow me down. I've got another route up here. So if I come out along this flank, these little bits of stream are a bit of a bogging issue, but all the Russian stuff, most of it is amphibious, so I can just swim it. In theory I can come up here. I'm not going to beat him to the point if I do that, but I'm going to be able to potentially put pressure on by popping up here, occupying these woods. We got some flanking positions on American forces pushing left to right through the village, and then if I go all the way around the forest on this side, I've got a bit of causeway here, a bit of a tiny reverse slope position, and potentially there's room to hook round here if he doesn't cover this off. So yeah, that's like a tentative look at the kind of options we've got looking at the map. We'll kind of see how it goes. Going this way up right, that's kind of meaningless to me. Which hopefully it's going to look kind of meaningless to him as well, on his flank going around that way. So we might be able to exploit that. But we'll see. So that's kind of a real quick look at the map. You can kind of see there's some ideas starting to form. What we're going to have to do is come back and test them. Because it's alright saying, okay, I can get here first, but you know, what if I can't? So we're going to have to come back at some point later. We're going to do something else a little bit more exciting first, and get the likely vehicles that I'm going to be able to bring to this, BTRs and Tiger, little armoured car type things. Bring them up and do some time and distance kind of things, kind of little tests to see how fast can I get into position using different routes. How fast can everybody get to different parts of the battlefield, and then use that in the planning to try and get an edge, essentially. So I want to get to places before the enemy so that I can ambush him. Generally, it's always better to fight on the defensive and let the enemy come to you than it is to go on the offensive, but we'll see. First of all, though, we've got to see how all this military hardware, all this material, stacks up against each other. So we're going to have to jump onto a different map. And yes, that's the right way around. And we've got this map, which I stole out of the campaign, the gunnery range. I'm going to hot seat this one because I need to control both sides. And we're just going to do the same thing. We're going to take a forward observer section and then drop down into single vehicles and bring a big pile of stuff. So we've got 3 types of BTR that we can bring. All this other stuff is tracked. So the BMP3s, they're all tracked. BMP2 tracked. The reconnaissance variants, the command vehicles, it's BMP, it's tracked. MTLBs, the ship box from squad, tracked. It's just the BTRs. PRP 4Ms, that's a BMP. The Chrysanthema, tracked. The Sturm, tracked. BRDMs, forgot about them. They're not tracked, I can bring them. So let's bring some of those. The AA, the Tunguska, unfortunately, is tracked, so it ain't coming. The Mortar Carrier is also tracked. So we're just going to take a couple of these. We'll get into the differences between all these in a minute when we have a look at them. I don't think the 85 BRDM is going to be very important or useful. The difference, yeah, between the two BRDMs, we'll get into that as well. And then the Tiger. The Tiger's not tremendously exciting. It's just a Jeep, basically, but with armor. It's like a Russian version of the Humvee. Sort of. The UAC, we don't really need to bring that because it's just a Jeep, and the Ural, it's just a truck, it doesn't matter. So we're going to bring those along. We're going to make sure that they're all standard settings, so regular, normal. So I have a baseline of what they cost. You can see the most expensive one I've got is the BTR 82A, which is 120 points. And we've got the same, I've got about 6,000 points, no, in the actual game I've got about 5,000 points to spend, so that's quite a, you know, I can bring quite a lot of BTR 82As. So, we've done that. Now we're going to do the same thing for the Americans. And then we're going to get on the range and we're going to shoot them. So we've got a couple of strikers. The striker with the 50 cal and the one with the Mark 19 are exactly the same. The Recce striker, don't really need to bring that because it's not any different. Mobile gun, system striker, it's just the same thing with a big gun on it. All these are basically the same. You can bring the armoured knight as well for a laugh. And then we've got various types of Humvee. And we'll whack them on regular as well. And yes, I did do it the right way round. Excellent. Right, so this is the gunnery range map from the campaign, from the training campaign. What I'm going to do is we're going to get like one of each vehicle, and we're just going to sit it here on the range. These are the ones that I really want to test the most. So the BTRs. I'm basically weapons testing here. So there's two kinds of weapons you get on the BTRs. If it's got A in the name, it's got a 30mm cannon. So I want to test the cannon. And if it doesn't, then it's got a 14.5mm machine gun. That's what I want to test here. We've also got the 85s. So let's put BRDM with the 85 up there. And we've also got the BRDM with the 14.5. And what we're going to do is give each of these a target arc down the road that's in front of it. And then obviously we're going to put targets, the rest of them, they can't see anything. Oh, of course, yeah, we need the, yeah, these two as well, okay. I forgot about the Tigers, they have some mounted weaponry. We'll put these on the infantry range. And make make sure to open it up. So the little man comes out and mans the AGS-30 there. I think that one has a PK. Yeah, you can actually just get people to the pixel trapper to just stand up in the hatch in the unarmed variant as well. But yeah, so we'll try and get you aiming to the left of those buildings, and you at those buildings. So we'll put some strikers in there as well. Have them shoot at them. So yeah, that's it for the Russians. We have all the Americans. We're just going to dump these at the back, far away. Or on this bit, the arty range, make sure they can't actually see anything, because it would fairly screw up everything if the Americans start shooting back here, so we'll give them all target arcs. It doesn't really matter which kind of strikers I'm bringing to this, because they all are armoured the same way. So let's get 4 of those, and we'll just slap them on the range. How far out is that? Let's stick them at about 500 meters. A little bit further back. The range, obviously, is quite big. I think that it's about 2 kilometers deep, maybe 3, I can't remember. And the idea is, you know, you can use it to engage tanks on. You've seen this range a lot if you watch any of my videos anyway, because I started using it quite extensively. So we've got some head-on strikers there, and now let's grab 4 more, and we'll use them as side targets. Some of these are command vehicles, but that doesn't really matter very much. Because, like I said, they've all got the same armor. After all, we are weapons testing here, so yeah. So we'll put those side on so we can see what kind of damage we can inflict to the side armor as well. We're not going to bother with the rear armor, because if we get behind them, it's probably going to penetrate. Emphasis on the probably. The Humvee, I know. The Humvees, I know, are not particularly proof against anything. But we'll also we'll stick some of those and a couple more strikers down on the infantry range for the Tigers. There we are. And what was the other one? Yeah, the Armoured Knight. So I think I've seen this used by police more than actual let's not do that. More than actual armed forces. It's like a rear area vehicle. I don't expect to see any of these at all. But I suppose we can just stick it in there somewhere and watch somebody shoot it. There is a vague down in this box here, if you click on the little shield, a vague indicator of what it's going to be proof against. So we have shape charge weapons, shells, tank shells essentially, heavy machine gun, light, small arms. You're not expecting this to survive very much, but we'll stick it, I don't know, there, why not? And then we're just going to press go and watch stuff get shot and work out what it's getting shot by. Now I'm just going to pause it there, because you can see within the first 5 seconds everything I have on here, the 2 Tigers, the 2 BTRs, the 2 BRDMs, everything has gotten spotted by the strikers. This is one of the huge advantages they have, which is they can see everything. Or between them they've seen everything. The ones facing head on, some of them are better than others, but you know, within the first 5 seconds the commander has an overarching view of everything. That's not good. It means they have pretty chunky reaction time. And oh yeah, it's starting to get some fire out. You see, it's, if you look at that, it's what, 10 seconds? We're 10 seconds in before the Russians have started shooting at stuff. And some of them still haven't started shooting. There we go. So we're seeing a bit of a mix. The 30mm cannon armed BTR, that has just put a load of penetrations into the front of that striker. Is it in the front? Let's have a look. Oh yeah, you see we lost an era block there. So that was comically inaccurate. It only hit with a couple of shots, and oh yeah, now it's gotten damaged, so it's panicking, but that should have sorted it out. Yeah, so the cannon's pretty reliable, I think we can say. That striker is not actually being destroyed by all this fire, but it's suffered some serious systems damage, and the crew decided that they want to be somewhere else. This one, on the flip side, on the with a flanking shot, that's out of action. That's gone. That's dead. It got destroyed on the first shot there. So they're pretty well armoured from the front, and that makes sense. We're going to see some big differences here between Western APC design and Russian APC design. And one of the big differences is this has got the engine in the front. This whole compartment here on the left, you see these like filter blocks. That's the engine. That's where the driver sits there. And obviously, a shell going through the front, it's going to hit the engine before it hits the exciting squishy bits in the back, you know, the infantry. Well, you can sort of see how it's clipped together there. So this compartment here, that's the engine. And we can kind of see, you know, from the front, we didn't actually do that much damage to it. These things targeting IR optics, the FBCB2, that's kind of, I think, some kind of like satellite positioning, Blue Force tracker kind of computer system that they use for the situational awareness and the radio. All that stuff is up here. The guy came out of the hatch there. That's all on top of the vehicle. Was the you know, here we fit a lot of the same stuff, but also the ramp controls and the weapon controls, and obviously a bit of damage to the vehicles, but that's done. Oh, let's just see where they hit. You know, it's done a lot more damage. It's also killed the driver. And it just actually around just hit the gunner as he was trying to get out. Let's watch that again. Up we go. Oh, no. So yeah. The 30mm cannon is effective, more effective against the flanks than the sides. Let's look at some of the other stuff. So the BRDMs, or you kicked things off, didn't you, with the the 14.5mm KBV or whatever kind of machine gun it is. That is basically doing nothing. me just flip through the turns here. Shooting it up from the front, that's not doing anything at all. We're getting some subsystem damage, but nothing that's, you know, that striker, if it was shooting back, will have destroyed that BTR before before it's even really gotten going. In other news, this BRDM is shooting up this one, yeah, so we're getting the 14.5 mg. I'm not sure if it's the same kind of 14.5 mg, but whatever. We can see that shooting it up from the flank and doing the exact same amount of nothing. It just hits. The strikers have these fantastic ceramic armor tiles on the side, and they are extremely effective. So you can see there's a big gap in the shooting there. That's because the BRDMs probably had to reload. So yeah, that did nothing, and it was shooting the flank and not the side as well. So yeah, that's awesome. We're gonna have to wait till next turn to see what the 85 does, because we can see it's launched it. It has been in the background of a couple of shots so far. Here's the missile. Massively competent. Confident that's going to hit? Maybe. I think it's... well, the strikers have explosive reactive armor, so we'll see if it's going to be effective. And then you can see at the end that all of these vehicles are intact, which means that the Tigers have done nothing as well. See the AGS-17, the 30mm grenade launcher version, isn't hitting anything. This is the mortar striker, so the crew is stood up in the back and they're not very happy. Obviously, they're getting a bit suppressed. Oh, okay, so it hit the top forward hull and did nothing. You know, damaged the radio a little bit. Be fun if it landed in the back. But yeah, that one, the PK, that hasn't even shot anything. So that's awesome. So now, because we're hot seeding it, we're going to see how the Germans, we've been playing too much Normandy. We're going to see how the Russians saw this. And let's see, within 5 seconds, we haven't seen everything. We have spots for everything, but not confirmed spots. Which is a bit worse than in the Americans, so we're kind of expecting that. And we can sort of see that in some cases the engagement is actually oh, hang on, he already fired a missile. I missed that completely. I assume he missed then. Oh no, it hit it. And it's fine. Oh no, it's gotten knocked out. Well, what do I know? Huh? Missed that completely. Ugh. Yeah, get used to this. With the turn-by-turn hapless not noticing things. Why did that explode? Oh, because he decided to fire it into the ground. Yeah. Let's see, are they the same machine gun? They are the same machine gun, that's good. Another important part to note here is that when that striker there, the forward facing one, gets hit and goes into a panic, it pops smoke. And if I keep this one selected so we can see what it can see. When it pops the smoke and it deploys, it loses it, because this does not have... does it have thermal optics? I can't remember, I'd have to look it up. But I don't think it does. Let's have a look at the front. See if we can judge it. No. No, that doesn't have any thermal optics or anything like that. You can usually spot thermals because they have big big viewers on, like that. Like that's gonna look like an idiot if I'm wrong about that, but that's probably a thermal sight because it needs a big, quite a big aperture. So there's probably a better one on the RWS striker. Oh, that's the tow one. Where did I put the? Oh, whatever. But yeah, that's the thermal sight, and if we look at the that doesn't have one. That's a spotlight of some description. Those little tubes there are smoke launchers. It's not a bad little turret, but it's not going to compete optics-wise, so we're going to have a spotting problem, and we need to hit things in the flank. This, well, you know what? We're just going to remove the target arcs for everything and let everything engage in the next turn. But we're also going to let the Americans do the same thing, because I'm going to give them their stuff too. So everyone's on it's a free-for-all now, everyone can engage whatever they like. And just to jazz it up, let's get you out, and then we'll send the other 30mm up, the BTR-80A. So that's there's the 80, BTR-80, and the BTR-82. They're slightly different. In fact, let's send all of those up. That's the one I'm probably going to be relying on most here, is the 30 mil cannon one. So yeah, let's send those up there and see what happens. And then with the Americans, we're also going to take all the target arcs off and just watch everything go wrong. For the Russians, yeah, so you can see on here we've also got the thermal sight. This big thing here, I think we've heard it called a doghouse before. That's the thermal sights there. I think there's another one there that might be something similar, but yeah, essentially. Let's get you, just go there, find something to shoot. So yeah, let's see what happens when we do this then, because I have a feeling that even at this kind of disadvantaged position, all this American stuff is going to rinse the Russians. And yeah, just to go back to me not noticing, they're all dead. Yeah, so we can see a couple of things happening. First of all, that gets completely knocked out by an 85 to the front, which is good. They might be actually useful. And we can kind of see, here a bit of an exchange between a Mark 19 equipped striker and one of the BTRs. So they're both actually penetrating each other. The 30mm is rinsing the front of that. It's killed the gunner. But the Americans got the first shot off, but because the Mark 19 is firing grenades, you can see, there they go. The zoom in, I can't see them because it's rendering the model, which is tiny. You know, that's actually getting some hits on it there. And I think, are we getting some MG fire on there as well? Yes. Yeah, so that's gotten knocked out, and the crew's bailed. BRDM is getting penetrated from the 50. It's also popped smoke, which is cute. Yeah, that's not having a good time though. Not really interested in the arm at night there, but yeah, it looks a lot like once the let's have a look. Oh, okay, so actually, you give it a bit of angling, and the BTR is sort of proof against 50 cal rounds to the front. Not everywhere, there's some weak points, so I still have to assume, but it's not going to be that bad. Okay. You've got a partial penetration. Oh yeah, yeah. So the BRDM, definitely not proof from the front against the 50. Yeah, okay. And then, of course, the Tigers don't survive for, like, very long at all. This one has never decided to actually... Oh, no, there we go. The gunner just got shot at instantly. And then, top hull penetration. I think that's actually... It is. It's a tow. I do like the tow. I don't think we're going to see any in this because the ranges are too short. But if we watch the tow go in from the tow striker, oh, perfect, nailed it. You guys saw that. I know what I'm doing. That's it detonating. It's actually detonating on top, above the target, and then the shaped charge warhead on the inside fires downwards. That's those two lines there through the weaker top armor. And that's, you know, it's overkill on that, but that'll kill a BTR, no problem there. And then the other one, I think that also got hit. Yeah, there's the missile. Yeah. And did it do anything in the meantime? No. I like the... I like the mortar striker there, which is on its own initiative firing its mortar at stuff. That's always good. So yeah, we're getting some kind of baselines to work with here, which is that everything can kill everything else. And if we look at some of these as they come up, so there's been enough information going around the system that this BTR knows that there is stuff out there, and it's resolving targets. It's found one. It's aiming, elevating, off we go. Okay, so they have a bit of a, you know, recce is going to be important. It's going to be important to keep those links rolling. Ah, there's the mortar bomb landing. So that everybody's clued in. Because it means it's going to take them less time to engage their targets, essentially. But yeah, that has pretty much sorted that out. That's about all we really need to see there. Let's see if the oh, good. The MGS striker, that's going to kill everything. It's a 105mm gun from the old Abrams. Was going to hit it first, obviously. And it's a little bogged there. So actually that's going to be a good indicator of a couple of things. Why is it damp? Why is it damp in the settings? There's a bit of bogging problem because of that, probably. Because of that. So that's created a minimum of dust. When it's dry, there's quite a lot of dust on the ground that flies up, and that's going to look really weird with it being snowy. So that's why we're on damp. The main reason for doing this has been to give me like a base level to work from. If I'd been playing a lot of Black Sea, I probably wouldn't need to do this. I arguably don't need to do it because it hasn't shown me anything that I don't already know. Except that the 85, like Spandrel BRDM, isn't completely useless, just mostly useless. But I've been playing a lot of Shock Force 2, and that has a lot of the same kinds of units in. So the Syrians have the BTR and the BRDM, and the Americans, of course, have Strikers and Humvees. But a Striker in Shock Force 2 is a Striker in 2008, and it is not a Striker in Black Sea, which is from 2017. So there's different things going on. This is the artillery observation or command. Was it one of the command ones? I can't remember. It's got this thing on. That's a radar or something like that. And, oh, hey, look! It is the command variant. It's got a laptops. It's got some computers on the inside. That's hilarious. Yeah, so it's just to kind of give me a bit of grounding. I am currently playing through one of the Operation Five Lions battles there, the multiplayer campaign, and I'm playing with a striker company. So I need to kind of make sure that I know the difference between the things here. But we can get out of that. Now what we got to do is some time distance testing. And to do that, we're going to kick this off again, change that back to a meeting engagement. Find the damn map again. Boom, there we go. Again, we're going to hot seat. Don't need a password because it's just me. And we're going to bring, have a look at some of the stuff that we can bring. And then see how fast we can roll up with it. So, a BTR. Let's just normalize it all. A BTR battalion. I can almost bring it. I'm 1,000 points, 1,300 points over. I can almost bring an entire battalion. Grenade launcher platoon. I've never been impressed by the Russian grenade launchers. Engineers. Not going to need the engineers. ATGM platoon. Probably not going to need it. Because if we look, the infantry platoons have a load of ATGMs in them as well. Recon platoon, I'll find a use for them. Mortars, they need to be on map. We might change them to 82s. Yes, that's a lot cheaper. And then, if we start shaving off some bits, boom. So if we do it like this, oh, they're BTR 82s, not BTR 82As. That's gonna screw everything up. because I want that cannon. The A version is a more modern version with better optics. Yeah, that screwed everything up. So we get rid of those, and I have about 179 points left over there. Not going to need those. You know, from here I can start slimming down on stuff. It looks like 2 companies of BTRs here. That's quite a lot of stuff. So that's a bit of a look at what I can bring. But what we're really here for is testing. Like route testing, time and distance. All that fun stuff. I'm not very interested in bringing tigers. I don't see the point. Because the BRDMs are a couple of points more, and they bring bigger guns. So, you know. So we're just going to test 82As and the BRDMs. And then, of course, same thing. Same thing with the Americans. So we're going to get some Humvees, and we're going to get some Strikers. Not the recce vehicle Strikers, just normal Strikers. And you notice it's defaulted these to typical values, which are veteran, high motivation, +2 leadership. I'm just going to round that down. It's not going to make them drive any faster or anything like that. But out of the box, the Americans are better across the board than the Russians. I can't compete with that, so I'm definitely aiming for mass here. I want more stuff, so let's go. Ugh. So let's do some time and distance. So we'll start off with the BRDMs. What I really want to see here is how fast they can get into certain positions using certain routes. So we've only got like 3 directions I really want to go in, like I kind of tentatively went for before, and those are this road, this gap in the trees here, and this big wide open left flank here. So that's what we're going to test. And we've got a couple of different routes for that. 4, funnily enough. It's almost like I planned it. I didn't. So we're going to see how... We're just going to drive up here as fast as physically possible. And make sure it's opened up. BRDMs, when they open up, that's what they're opening up. So you notice there's nobody sticking their heads out the hatches. It's literally that. So if we close up, so we want that open, because that's not going to make any difference whatsoever. So we got that. That one is going up that way. This one is going to go this way across the fields and sneak through that little gap there, and get up to this kind of area. This one is going to go around the river. That way, like that. And get up there, and we're going to be comparing that one very specifically with this one. who's going to be going across the river more directly. Okay, so that's those, and we'll do exactly the same thing with the BTRs. And we'll set those up next turn. Now for this, I'm also going to be leaving. This incidentally is a artillery observation BTR, which is terrible. It's got a PK machine gun in it. It's just sticking out there, and it's not even the turret. I don't really have any arty to call down, so not going to need that. All of the target arcs are off, so it's a free reign. If they see anything, they can shoot it. And we're going to do, surprise, surprise, the same stuff with the Americans. So, can they beat me up to there? There. What if we go cross country there? And what if we go that way? So we'll start over here and then just it's not perfect, obviously. We're just going for general idea kind of territory here. So you can kind of see the approach with this and the weapons testing and that kind of thing. What I'm trying to do is nail down as much stuff as possible before I start committing to plans and things. So, you know, the idea is I want to cut down on the surprises. And there's a lot of common sense here as well, obviously. I don't want to turn up here with a plan that says, okay, I want to push this flank, and then it turns out that actually I can't push this flank because he's going to get there first. You know, I don't want to go basing my plans on things that aren't going to work. That's dumb. So let's press go, and we'll see all these BRDMs get maimed and annihilated by 50 caliber machine guns on the Humvees. There are no winterized vehicle skins that I know. Well, there's one, there's a Bradley, but that's not going to be very useful here. So obviously they haven't had time to paint them. The American pixel trapper aren't bad though. You know, they've got that NTP isn't too bad in the snow. 40 seconds in and nobody's spotted anything yet. But we can definitely see how here you can drive straight down there. And yep, he can shoot up the one going down that flank, so we might have to redo this test again. They've actually run into each other at the same time, and the Humvees come off worse. So that's a plus. But over here, he can beat me to this entrance. If he guns it, and he might not, because not everybody thinks about doing stuff like that. But you can definitely see how at the end of minute 1, this Humvee going around here through here, this is actually a pretty good barrier. Going out on this flank, he gets to about here, and if he goes straight down the road, you're always faster on the roads. He can get here and he can dominate this gap and see in there. So I need to maybe adjust a little bit with my planning. Maybe bring a platoon up in here. We'll see. And then the other Humvee he can get. End of turn 1 he can get up to here. In the middle of the village and just about to the top of my hill here. Okay, so let's have a look at this from the Russian perspective. Are we going too slow in places? Which is faster? Boom. At least we actually spotted that Humvee though. And that's just the reaction shot over on that side. And that BRDM is actually in some dead ground from the Humvee. That's up there. So that's interesting. But you can kind of see at the end of 1 minute, I'm not as fast. I'm not as fast off-road as the Humvees. And because I have more distance to travel because of these things, I actually have... this isn't good. Why are you all green? I thought I made you all regular. Whatever. So that's interesting. Let's see if we can... yeah, we better give that the same orders as it had before. That one's going. That one's on fire, and everybody's dead. And let's follow up with the actual BTR 82As with the cannons. Bring that up to the top there. Let's get that one following the BTR. Again, I'm testing the same stuff here, essentially. I just want to see how it works with a different vehicle. And again, this isn't about solid conclusions by any means. This is general indicators of what may or may not work. So yeah, the BRDMs. Well, let's just leave everybody shooting. That's going to be the most fun thing we can do. We can also compare here the BRDMs to the BTRs and the Humvees to the Strikers, and see which ones get to 2 places first. Because that's going to clue me in on what I can expect. You know, if I see you know, if I don't see anything on turn 1, and that's because the Strikers are slower than the Humvees, then I mean, I know I'm not really looking at Humvees. Not that it makes much difference, but all these little bits of information are really, they stack up and they become quite important. Okay, so BRDM actually came out on top on that fight. I was not expecting that. I was expecting the Humvee to rinse it, but no. Interesting. I think it's going to be quite similar, actually, I think. Yeah, that Striker hasn't seen it, which is... that's an interesting point. We've seen that one. Oh, car crash coming over there. Oh, I'm going to have to look at that. Okay, so what happens with this Humvee? It just... Okay, because he's already engaging the infantry, the dismounted crew in the background, and then the BTR comes round and rinses it. That's really interesting. We also had a bit of fire over here. With this Humvee coming around the corner, and he's stopped. And sees that BRDM. I don't think the BRDM's... Oh, he's spotting him now because he's... But yeah, he's really exposing the bottom armor there. That's not going to end well. And the driver's dead. Yeah, so... The striker drives up, and you can see that one down there. So obviously that route down there with the multiple crossings is not the way to go. Even at close range, the BRDM's not going to win against the striker. Yeah, no. And then we've got whatever insanity is happening up here. Oh yes, it has spotted it. So that's that should be interesting on the next turn. But yeah, one thing to bear in mind here is that I'm using the fast command for everything. So everything is going fast. That means that they are basically saying pedal to the metal, focus on the driving, and they're not doing as much actual spotting. So they're not as good at spotting when they're moving fast. But because I'm really testing out the time and speed here, that's important. That's what we're looking for. I'm going to be moving as fast as possible, definitely. If my opponent doesn't want to, then that's cool. I can roll with that. So, yeah, I think they're pretty much even in speed. I'm gonna have to watch this corner here. Maybe find a way to take that a bit less sharply, because if we look, it turns there, and oh yeah, might just be intruding on that square there, that light forest square. That's really going to slow him down. So that might be worth doing. Then up here, who can see what? He's screwed. He's also screwed. Yeah, this BTR. Yeah, he's just seen him, just at the end there. The BRDM? Does that see it? It does. And he can't make up his mind which way to turn the turret. That's hilarious. So yeah, let's make sure nothing gets behind the BRDMs. Yeah, so we'll just run through the one more turn, and we'll start getting some other options and things going. Just put a random hunting routes in, so they actually do stuff. So yeah, that striker should be a bit screwed because it's okay, so it started off aiming at the BRDM, which is knocked out. It's now trying to aim at the I don't know what's going on here, but I know it's dumb. think they got a bit confused there about the... Yeah. I think if I'd have told that to stop, it would have done better. But as it is, it's getting a bit rinsed. Yeah, there we go. So that's going to be a good one to bear in mind. What do we get with this one? Takes out the BR. Does he? Ah! Gets cannoned from across there. So yeah, that's going to be a good one to bear in mind as well. And even if I can't attack, I can get line of sight. And of course the Humvee annihilates the... Well, that's interesting. That is firing... Well, it's screwed now, but it was firing high explosive air bursting rounds at that Humvee. Pretty sure that's screwed. Yeah, so we can kind of see that we've got our work cut out against us here. There's a lot of stupidity going on here. See, look, it turned away and it can't see anything. And then it's aiming. I assume it's because they're too close. You know, they can't really engage properly. And it's lost the gyro stabilizer. That's why it's shooting so wildly. That's actually quite cool. Yeah, it's firing the air bursting HE there, and then at the end of the turn it's doomed. Okay. So we kind of see that we could be up against it with the testing. A lot of it is going to depend on who gets where first, and I should be able to get into the positions I want to get in, which is namely control of the village is going to rely on the crossroads, basically, or these linear roads in the middle. So, you know, I want something covering this, and I want a strong point up on here. We'll see if we can peek over the top of the hill and see what we can see. Might be fun, just that I throw away like 100 points or so to get one of those 85 BRDMs, get it up here on turn 1, because you can see if he's piling into the objective here or getting into the village in general, he's going to be enfiladed. So that might be worth doing. I don't think the I think the BRDMs are a little bit faster than the BTRs. Humvees and Strikers are about the same. So yeah, that's going to factor into the planning. But I don't think it's functionally changed. I'm just going to have to go for it. Remember when we kind of looked at it, I can bring 2 companies. So that loosely translates into 1 company for each objective. There are 12. Yeah, 12 BTR 82s in each company, so I should be able to get a good... You know, that's 24. That's quite a lot. And it's quite a small map, so I should be able to get plenty of momentum, or be able to saturate the area. One of the big things I want to try and do is buddy up the BTRs, because I'm going to be expecting the Americans to get the drop on them. And if there's 2, hopefully the one that isn't getting destroyed will be able to see and engage the American unit. That's the plan. It's a bad plan, but we'll see. We'll see how it rolls out. Obviously, the actual force selection, I can do some tweaks. we can kind of see. Have I got a live BTR anywhere? Yeah. Okay, there we go. You can kind of see it's got 9 spaces in the back. BTR squads, BTR motor rifle infantry squads, are 7 men strong, so I have 2 free seats. So I could potentially start cramming some other units in there, probably RPG teams. If you think 9, 3 squads in a platoon, that's another 3 RPGs. The RPG I think is going to be important here. And of course I can tank the infantry up on the handheld disposables. Where are we? RPG 26s. And stuff like that. That should give them a bit more teeth when we come to the close quarters. And yeah, I think of the 2 places, this could potentially be the more important because I got the high ground and I can play peekaboo over the top of the slope here. I've also got maybe a little bit of dead ground over on this flank that I can exploit to try and get round behind him. Maybe. We'll see. Yeah. Should be interesting. And there you go. That's a little bit of a... Obviously, I'd do this a bit more. Maybe do a couple of dry runs against the AI. In case the AI comes up with anything that I haven't thought of. Just to, you know, hash it out and nail down as many details as I can before it starts. That way I have this kind of knowledge base to work from when it all goes wrong. Which it will. So there you go. There's a little bit of a look into how I get into these games and start setting them up. I hope you enjoyed it and you weren't too bored. You should at least understand why you don't usually see this when I make the videos. But yeah, there we go. That's it. You can kind of see how this map should produce some pretty nice little fights. It should be interesting. Still don't have a good name for it. But yeah, that's to look forward to. Hope you guys found this useful, and I'll see you in the next video.